All right, this is for day, sorry about this. This is for day 11, um, finding the hole, page 45 and 46 on your homework page, which should look like this. Page 45, finding the hole, and page 46. So let's start off with page 45 first. And let me move this chat over here just in case anybody needs help. And that should be good enough. I'm going to put this up here. So for page 45, it says, how can you find 10% of Carmen's earnings using the ratio 27 to 30? Huh? All right, let's see what it asks us first. It says Carmen saved $27, which was 30% of the money she earned. How much did Carmen earn? So right now, she earned $27, and that's only 30% of her earnings. So they put that ratio together in this double number line. Now it's saying, how can you find 10%? So how do you get from 30% to 10%? So how do you get from 30% to 10%? And this 30% is connected with $27. So this ratio is connected with $27. So right here it's telling you, how can you find 10% of Carmen's earnings using the ratio 27 to 30? So how can I find 10%? How do I get from 30% to 10%? I need to divide it by something. I need to divide it by 3. When I divide 30 by 3, I get 10. If you didn't see how I did that, all I did was 10 times what gives me 30. I can go backwards when I'm doing division. I can do multiplication. So from my head, I did 10 times 3 equals 30. Now, whatever I do to one side, I need to do to the other side. I need to divide it by 3. When I do this division problem, it'll tell me how much she earns. How much she earns, and that is 10%. So for the first question, we can say we divide by 3. How can you find 10%? We divide 30% by 3%. Then it asks you, what is 10% of Carmen's earnings? 10% of Carmen's earnings is right here. So when you divide this, you should get this answer. Now it says, how many times as great as 10 is 100? So if I multiply 10 times something, what do I do to that 10 to get 100? So what do I multiply this 10 to get 100? What do I multiply this 10 to get 100? To get 100%. When I multiply 10 times 10, I get 100%. So it says how many times as great as 10% is 100%? You would write 10 times. Now, number 3 says, how can you find 100% of Carmen's earnings using the ratio of her earnings to 10%? What is 100% of Carmen's earnings? It says how you can find it. You can multiply it by 10. You multiply the $9 times 10, and it gives you $90. This is right here, my 100%. It asks you, what is 100% of Carmen's earnings? This page is just asking you, can you read this double number line, and can you identify what each question is asking you? Like I said before, I like doing this step right here. If you like double number lines, that's fine. But for me, if you're doing it my way, we need to first divide to find 10% and then multiply to get 100%. That's usually our go-to moves when we have these problems that are part, and then you need to find the whole. And this one, they gave us a part, 27 to 30, and we had to find 100%. So when we have these parts to wholes questions, you're going to need these 2 steps. You're going to divide them first to get 10%, and then multiply it to get 100%. Let me show you over here. Let's zoom in so we can get more, there we go, out of this. There we go. So number 4 says, Diane received 300 votes in the election for student council president. That was 60% of the students who voted in the election. How many students voted in the entire election? It says use a double number line, but I want to use the trick I know. So I'm going to write 300 votes. Whoa. Maybe we should zoom in a little bit more. Or zoom out a little bit more. So we're going to write 300 votes to Well, I have more space, so let's go ahead and use it. So 300 votes to 60% of the students who voted. Now, the first thing we must do when we do these problems, when they give you a part and you need to find the whole, is you need to divide to find 10%. So what did I divide this 60 to get 10%? Now, if you can't do it in your head, 60 divided by what gives you 10? Do it backwards. 10 times what gives you 60? 10 times 6 gives me 60. That means that 60 divided by 6 would give me 10. Now, whatever I do to one side, I must do to the other side. So, 300 divided by 6. I like doing it like this. I know 30 divided by 6 is 5. And then I just add the 0. So that means that 10% is going to be 50 votes. Now, this is the first step. The second step is we need to multiply the 10% to get 100%. So now 10 times what gives me 100? 10. Now, whatever I do to one side, I must do to the other side. 100% will be this answer right here. How many kids voted? When you write your answer, it's going to ask you how many students voted in the election. 100% of the kids voting in this election would be this answer right here. This is how many kids voted. So make sure you multiply 50 times 10 and you get your answer of how many kids voted. Now let's go to number 5. Now, number 5 says, students sold 80% of the books donated to the used book sale. They sold 48 books in all. How many books were donated to the used book sale? Use a table in your explanation. Now, whenever they ask for a table, they mean like a ratio table like this, where you have both numbers coming down. So like if it's 1 here, this ratio goes along with it. So anytime you skip down, the ratios must skip accordingly. So let's say I put 5 here. I would have to multiply it times 5. 5 times 5 gives me 25. So we must use a table for number 6. It says students sold 80% of the books donated to the used book sale. They used 48 books in all. How many books were donated to the used book sale? Now, again, this is a part. You know what? No, I don't want you to use a table. I want you to get used to this trick right here. So let's do the trick I told you in the beginning. We write our ratio. This is how many books they sold, and that's 80%. And they want to find out how much is 100%. So how many books were donated? So 100% would be how many books were donated. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide first to make it into 10%. So what can I divide the 80 to get 10%? And if you don't know that, 10 times what gives you 80? 10 times 8 gives you 80. Now, I must do this to both sides. Remember that. When I divide this, I get 10. That's already there. When I do 48 divided by 8, 6 por 8, 48. That's 6 books. That means that 6 books is 10%. But I want to find out how much 100% is. I want to find out how much 100% is. So I need to multiply the 10% by 10 to get 100. But I need to do that to both sides. Now, whatever answer you get here, when you do 6 times 10, whatever answer you get here, that's how many books is 100%. If you wanted to use a table, you would use this ratio to make your table. So you would say like 10% to 6 books. It looks like, I guess it would look like this, books, and it would be percentage here. So I guess we wouldn't have to draw, whoa, that's not what I need. So it would go like this, 10%, 20%, 12. You would have to go to, I guess, 80%, so you can skip counts. So like 50, it's times 6, right? So 5 times 6 is 300. No, not 300, it's 30. Yeah, but where did I get that, mister? Yeah, that's true. So let's keep going like this. So 30 would be 18, 40 would be 24, 50 would be 30. And then you keep going until you get to 100%. So you go 60% is 36, 70% is 42, 80% is 48, 90% is 50. How much did we say 100% was? Oh, we said it was 60. 54, and then the 100% would be, well, yeah. So if you want to draw the table, it would look like this. But I'm only asking for this work here. Divide first to get 10%, and then multiply it to get 100%. This is for number 5. So let's go to number 6 now. Let's go to number 6. So number 6 says, Omar spends $63 on souvenirs during his vacation. That is 35% of the money he brought with him. How much money does Omar have left to spend? Now this one is 2 steps. We need to find out how much 100% is, because he only used 35%. So first we have to find out how much 100% is. So we're going to write our ratio, $63 to 35%. Now the tricky part here is, how do we get from 35% to 10%? The trick that I like using is not going to work here. Now when the trick doesn't work, it usually means you need to divide both sides by a number that is going to go into both of them. Now if I look at 35 and 63, I know that 63 is 9 times 7. I know I can't divide 35 by 9, but I can definitely divide 35 by 7, because 7 times 5 is 35. So I can divide this by 7, and I can divide this by 7. All right, this percentage looks weird. I'll do this for percentage, so we don't get confused between percentage and division. Now when we divide this, we're going to get 5% to $9. Now I can still use this to find 100%. So like 5 times what gives me 100%? 5 times 10 is 50, so it wouldn't be 50. It would be double that. 5 times 20. 5 times 20 gives me 100. So I must do it to both sides. Now 9 times 20 gives me $180. Now that's how much 100% of this guy's savings is. But it says that you use $63 on souvenirs. How much does he have left? We need to subtract this to find out how much money he has left. Make sure you show this work right here. That's it for day 11. If you have any questions, send me a message on Google Classroom. We're going to be doing a lot of video schooling when we come back from spring break. So start getting used to that.